Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Evolve Masterclass podcast. I am Dr. Sari and I'm here with,
Samantha Lerhoff.
we're not having fun at all. Today, we are going to talk about relationships. We're going to dive in a little bit on love, that squishy, fun feeling, but mainly how to feel love, how to take in love, how to share love, because we're figuring out that we all have different languages of love, and there are plenty that aren't even listed that some of us had. So we want to talk about that, and we want to figure out what's worked for us and what hasn't worked for us in our own lives and just see where this conversation takes us. So, Sam, we'll just start with us. What's your love language? How do you feel love? How do you receive love? What does it look like for you?
Well, I want to say that having a partner to read my mind all the time. No, I'm just joking. I would say a lot of the time these days, evolving awareness, being aware, right? Having someone that is aware of me, but also like aware of themselves, in a healthy, right? Ideal relationship world. And I think that for me, obviously, affection, the normal main ones, because I'm such an affectionate person, loving someone who can communicate, but also hold space.
Mm.
So I think that was a lot listed really quickly.
That's good. And I think all of us have lots of love languages. I used to say mine was communication and touch, right? If someone could communicate really well, touch, like they were affectionate. But now I'm learning it's so much more. I want someone who is also funny, right? My job is really serious during the day. And so I want to laugh. And do they have my sense of humor? How about do they get me? Do they really get what I'm about? And I think
Mhm.
this is such a big one because if they don't get me, then they don't understand why I want to spend most of my Saturday or Sunday at the computer working on things that are going to inspire other people. If they don't get that is just like why I feel like I'm here, that I'm like, it's all about the evolving journey and helping other people do that. If they don't understand that is a child to me, it's just that important. How are we
Mhm.
going to make it work? Right. Not to say that's all I need to do in a relationship, but it's just being able to truly value and honor not just me, but the things that I value, the things that are important to me.
Huge.
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 Yeah.
And then also sharing, I think for healthier relationships, sharing that those similar values and having a strong foundation of
Mhm.
the same values, right?
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, obviously no one's going to be the same person, but
Right.
like just getting it sounds like you're saying, right? And yeah.
Yeah. Do they understand me, where I'm coming from? Um, do they see me, like really see me? I think it helps to think about relationships where you didn't have that. Like I just think about that guy I dated who wanted me to be his doll, right? He bought designer clothes and shoes and dressed me up and then told me like I could change my walk. And I'm like, but that's not me. I don't care who designs stuff. Like I don't care what names
Right.
are on things. And I didn't feel like I was being seen and valued for who I was. And instead just wanted to turn me into something that he thought he could love.
Yes, that is such a big one as we get wiser,
It's so wide now. Which
wiser. We're evolving.
revolving. That's
Yeah,
right.
love that. I love that, sister. I love
I
that.
love that a lot. And look, it's not to say that being put in airplanes and traveling around the world and brought to some incredible places weren't wonderful, but at the end of the day, are we willing to sacrifice who we are for love?
Ooh, no.
No. No, no, thank you. Please, may I have another?
No, that doesn't sound like fun at all.
No, no. Look, it was fun in the beginning, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, where am I in all of this, right? I am in such and such country, but where is Sari? Because I think I left her at home in New Jersey, right? It's
In her pajamas,
in in her pajamas.
huddling, or maybe just having a computer screen to create her next course.
Yes, they're gonna have to bury me with my computer. Um, it's like- or in the kitchen table. When I think back on where I've spent most of my life, it's at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Think about it, right? Studying for the MCATs, right? Writing. That's where I want to be at the kitchen table. But if we feel we're losing ourselves in a relationship, and how many people can do this. In fact, I'm going to pull it up because it's so good. For our Evolve Masterclass class, I took the questions from these wonderful people online, like a bunch of different people, and I put these questions together. And it was all about how do we figure out if we're in a relationship that really values us and if we feel like we can be ourselves and be fully ourselves in this relationship. Let me just pull it up for you guys because if I read you questions, Sam, I don't know if you've taken this
No.
yet, but you'll be afraid.
Check these questions.
Be very afraid. It's called the Relationship Clarity Checklist.
I'm ready.
Oh, now we're curious. Okay. I'm going to ask everybody these questions, and Sammy, you can ponder.
Mhm,
Core question number one. Are you fulfilled in your relationship,
mhm.
or are you just less lonely?
I love that.
Number one.
Okay.
Okay. We all have this in mind. We're thinking about it. Number two. Are you able to be fully yourself, or do you feel pressure to change for your partner?
When you can create a whole Broadway show in the bath when your partner is right outside the door, improv style, and you don't care how out of tune you are. Let me tell you.
That's special. That's love. You're fully yourself, improv style.
Yeah.
That's it. You're in your element. You're with your people. You don't have to worry about how you're going to look or sound or worry that you're going to be judged. That's such a gift, I feel.
Legit. Keep going.
Moving on to the next question.
Yes.
Are you in love with your partner today, or are you attached to their potential or an idealized version of them?
Ooh.
Or I would almost add the potential false advertising from the beginning of the relationship, just something I would add. But this is a big one too, because we meet someone and then we forecast this whole potential version of them that may have never existed, may never ever exist in all of
Yeah.
time. And then we decide that's who we're in love with, rather than the person who's in front of us, who's going to be flawed, who's going to be human. Because that's
Mhm.
how we come in this world. We come pretty human, pretty
It's
flawed.
true. It's true. And may I just add,
Please add.
some days I'm in love with him and we're having a wonderful, my husband, that is the and we're having a wonderful, happy, loving day, or maybe even in an hour. And in the next hour, I
Changes
withdraw
by the
that.
minute.
Yeah, and so it really can fluctuate. Let's just be honest here. I feel like it can
What I hear you saying.
that's the fantasy of right in love forever every moment of the day is bullshit.
I think we need to be honest about it, right? Because this
Yeah.
is why they say fall in love with your best friend. I feel this way about my son. He's pretty close to perfect. Okay, we're not going to lie now. But it doesn't matter what he does. It doesn't matter how human and how many mistakes he makes. I love that kid. It's not like in the old times. I swear it's like old days your parents would get mad at you and they wouldn't talk to you for a week. Like I can't do that. If I'm upset with him, I'm over it in 3 seconds. Or I can recognize that even if I'm upset about the behavior, the love I have for him is so much bigger and life's too short. And that could be because I've had such a close near-death experience that I can see it that way. But what if we could be honest though? If we find someone that can bring forth that kind of love within us, that even when we want to wring their necks, we understand the current of love underneath is so freaking strong
Of course.
that it
Yes.
does not matter what little hiccup or little poor
Yeah.
behavior just showed up. Like we will explain to them it doesn't work, but also that we love them and we know we're going to get over it.
Yes. I think that's the sauce, the recipe for a secret sauce for a healthy, right? Functioning relationship.
Because you're saying that with such a straight face.
Oh,
I
I see you holding a laugh, and that's all I need to
the,
get me
secret,
going.
the secret sauce for healthy malfunctioning, is that what you're saying? Let's just make sure our listeners heard that correctly. The secret sauce for
A healthy, functioning relationship.
functioning that makes all the difference. Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
now here's a really good question. This is big, and I think this is the one that when I share it with my clients makes them do like the about face and everything.
Mm.
Would you want your future child or someone you love like that to date someone like your partner?
I think about this all the time, actually.
Do you?
I do, because I think this is actually, it's one of my biggest triggers. Because I think that, and again, this is my work, right? So, because I have a son and I have a daughter. With my husband, we don't want, when I'm having that moment of ego, I don't want her to look for a man if he's having this outburst that's going to do and be and say and act like that as
Hmm.
I'm having my outburst. And
Yeah.
then, or having a temper tantrum or whatever that is. And so then this feeling of, okay, but all the good stuff that he has, yes, he's got all those beautiful qualities, a good heart, a really good person, and all those things, yes. And are we going to find it all in one package? No,
Yeah.
right?
Because we know whoever our kids end up with, like, they're not going to be perfect either, right? I really feel bad for who my son ends up with because she's got a lot to live up to. I'm just kidding. No,
Yeah.
but I'm not perfect. I joke, my patients are like, "Oh, you've got it all figured out." I'm like, "You want to see the pile of mail next to me? It's been sitting here for 3 months. Like I'm not. I don't have it all figured out. I'm very much a priority person. If it's not something that's going to affect me big today, it can wait. Dishes sometimes can wait. I don't have it all figured out. However, if
Mm.
we can see those flaws in our partner, understand that there are things that are being worked on, or as long as it's not toxic to the degree that we're talking abuse, but if it's stuff that you know they could prevent, whether it's an outburst, some sort of adult temper tantrum, that stuff is going to happen. But could we work on it? Are they working on it? Are they aware of their stuff? And I love people who are aware of their stuff, which is why I always try to point out my stuff. If people are willing to, like, I know I'm not
Yeah.
perfect, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
That's like turn on city, you know?
Yeah.
That's
I like
self-awareness.
that. And then you know what else I like? Let me tell you what I really like.
What do you like?
That's not, it's not only aware of it, but then, and then can change it. I just change it.
It's that psychiatrist skit. Just stop it. Every client that comes in, right, with every problem. And they're like,
I feel like I know what you're talking about, that
I
video.
can't stop throwing up, or like whatever. And he's like, just stop
Just
it. They're like, but I can't. I get I told him that I have to do this. And he's like, all right, here's what you're gonna do. And he writes it on a script pad. Just stop it.
Oh,
If only it were
right.
that.
So
Only it
good.
were that easy.
No.
I'm gonna find that clip and play it. So good.
Well, yes. And then obviously someone who's willing to apologize. If we're practicing, obviously, ideally within ourselves, we can start to show them how it's done.
That's right. See me working on me.
I'm working on it. So I had a moment. I had such a moment. I had a temper tantrum. My husband was going away, getting ready for a work trip the next morning. He had to get up at like 3 a.m. And all of a sudden, I'm doing the dishes and thinking how I have the next 5 days of my schedule sort of turned around because I have to do double duty now, both kids running this business. And all of a sudden, I just get so super heavy and I'm scrubbing the dish. I'm scrubbing the dish. And I look over and I see my husband left the bowl on the table. And that's it. Just have this like
Well, it was the bowl on
one
top,
bowl,
the cherry on top.
legit. And he's like, honey, it's one bowl. I go, but it's not just that one bowl. It's the
This bowl
example that you're
represents
setting
all the
for our
bowl.
kids. I can't even tell you. I mean, I had a moment, and the kids are like, is she okay? I don't act like this. Is she okay? And I legit go, Mommy was a bit of an ego. I may have overreacted. I have to go apologize to Daddy right now. So I breathed for 5, 10 minutes, washed my face, walked into, he's on the couch like this. And I'm so sorry, honey. I overreacted. Totally had to admit
Not
it.
about the bowl.
Not about the bowl.
That was great.
Yeah.
See, we're so perfect. I had that last Friday. I was so tired, so tired. and I needed to go to sleep. It was getting late, and my son was like, "Hey, so and so just wants to stop by just for a quick hug. She's going to be in the area, and I love her. Okay, just a quick hug." And then it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I gotta go to sleep. And he's, "Oh, okay, but she's almost here. Show me where she is on Snap." It like shows you where the friends are. And then she's nowhere near close. No, 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 she can't come over. And then he's, "But she has to because her ride has to drop her off." Suddenly the story changes. Now it's not a quick hug. It's a she's being abandoned in our house, and now I'm responsible. And I lost it. Okay, you tell her to keep on driving by, because if she puts one foot on our grass, I'm calling the cops. Look at me like,
Much
"Mom,"
crap.
I'm like,
How?
"Have I mentioned how tired I am?"
And then how'd you handle it?
And then he told me I wasn't being reasonable, and I just can't imagine why. Just because I threatened to call the authorities.
Have tantrums too. We're tired too sometimes. We just want to
It's
be put to
like,
bed.
I hear myself. I'm really tired now. We need to stop and go to sleep. We'll talk about this tomorrow. But I'm not gonna lie, I did open the window shade to make sure she wasn't standing on our
I'm
front
so
lawn.
sorry. Can't believe you have a teenager. You're doing it, honey. You really
We're
do.
doing it. We're doing it. Oh man. But we want to give ourselves that acknowledgement, right? Which is we're so imperfect. And I don't care how wise and inspired and how many lifelong classes you've been doing. When you are tired enough, it all goes out the window. And you start saying things that you would never say on a full night's sleep. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It comes back to the basic needs when you think about it.
Right?
Of life.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Have you eaten? Have you slept? Have you had nutrients? Just keeps going. Then we can get to the fun stuff. Oh, that was a good one. Okay, let's look at the next question.
Okay, I love these.
Um, these are great, right? Do you feel emotionally safe and supported, especially during disagreements? I think we just covered this one. And by the way, we want to acknowledge that there are people out there in these serious relationships who might actually be considering to maybe end them. So we want to honor you. We're talking about the not so serious relationships in these moments where most challenging part is more, are we compatible? And that's what these questions are really telling us. Are we compatible? And then is this a place that we can evolve and grow in for the long haul? One thing that I asked my son after that conversation, I said, "Do you feel safe even when I get like that, even when I'm that tired?" And he said, "Of course. I'm not going to do that, right? When I say that." And he
That's a
said,
great
"Yes,
question.
I always feel safe." And I think that to me is really important, is when our kid can acknowledge we're not perfect, but they can still feel safe in our presence. I think if we're doing that, we've nailed it. That's
Mhm.
a big one.
I love that. That's a great question. Yo.
So do we feel safe and emotionally safe and supported? And so this is the other one, right? Which is, and I asked this last night in our class, is that if you are vulnerable with your partner, do you feel safe with that? Meaning, do you feel like they're not going to throw it back in your face one day?
Yeah, I heard that question too on the call, right?
Big one,
Yeah. Yeah.
because here we want that home, that place we can be totally raw and vulnerable with that person. But do we 100% trust? And this comes up a lot, and I'm just going to bring up a hot topic, right? Whether to or not to send some explicit photos over your phone with your current partner. And so,
Mhm.
what I always ask clients is, okay, before making that decision, aside from the fact that things can get hacked and you can end up all over the internet, but do you feel the person you're sending it to, the absolute worst version of them, and the version of them that could potentially hate you in 5, 10 years, or a year, whenever, do you trust that person to keep those photos and videos safe?
Ooh, interesting.
Do you trust that person And of course, it's so hard to know, and we want to acknowledge that. But if there's any part of you that's no, I don't, or I don't know, then you
Yeah.
have your answer. That's a no as far as I'm concerned. If you're with someone that you're like, no, no, I know
Mhm.
they have past exes or had past exes, and under no circumstance they said they don't care how badly the relationship ended, they would never share that kind of intimate. I know I can trust this person. Then that's a different conversation. That's how we could really take it to that extreme. Do
It
we feel?
really, I think that's a very telling question. Like it would give people a lot of awareness about
Yeah.
who they're with, in
Yeah.
a sense, if they can, right? Ask that
Yeah.
question, be honest with that answer.
Right. And especially during disagreements, because that's like really what the question's asking is like, when things get hot and heated. Okay, this is one that comes up in my practice, and I'll just bring it up. So my patients who are on medications,
Yeah.
their spouse, when they fight, will sometimes do the, oh, what's the matter? Did you not take your medication today?
Mm-hmm.
I hear this so much. They'll
Yeah.
use this thing against them in an argument.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like it's this wrongness. They take that vulnerability and they just throw it in their face. It makes me sad for them.
Yeah. I've heard that being done actually to kids too, which is really
Yeah.
it's scary because it's like then you don't want them to hear that as a
Yeah.
kid and getting that complex.
It's shame, right?
Yeah, I guess
You're
that's
being
shame.
shamed. It's big. Okay, here's one. Are your core values and long-term goals aligned, or do you see fundamental differences?
Mm. And
You
then
know,
how would you even, this is a question, right? That comes up too. How do you even begin to have that conversation with your partner, whether it's the beginning or in the middle, or maybe, hey, you never really talked about it. And you start to figure what each other's values are and if they are aligned, because you have to know what are.
yeah. Well, that's a great question, Samantha. Let me tell you what our bonus high impact compatibility questions ask at the end of that worksheet that's on the course.
Yeah.
Tell them what they've won, Jean. So you can ask your partner about
Yeah.
their values on these types of things, right? Hey, what are your
Mhm.
religious beliefs? And what kind of holidays do you want to keep as part of tradition? What are your views about money, spending, financial goals, right? What do you believe is proper punishment for children? What's
Mhm.
most important to you? What do you value most in this world? I think these are seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th dating questions.
Could you imagine if everybody started out like having those kinds of, right?
Some
I,
people do. Yeah, right off the bat.
I
How
love
do
you. You would. You're the best at questions. That's why.
I love making people a little uncomfortable in those scenarios.
Well,
Just a
because
little
you
bit.
have to know yourself. Oh, your values, you know yourself and you want to share and you want to get to know other people to so
I
that
one of my first 3 or 5 questions to get to know you questions early on was scenario, we're playing a board game and you've lost. How do you handle it?
oh,
And the reason I asked that, why are you laughing?
my sister, and I know how you act
Okay.
because
I'm a
Sari does
little
it too.
competitive
And I
with
may
board
be a little.
I think I've gotten much better in my old age.
You are, I love seeing your inner child play a board game. Keep going.
Yeah. And the reason I asked this is because I dated someone once that took their fist and slammed the board game and all the pieces went everywhere because they were that angry that they lost.
Oh,
And that
yeah,
was a telltale for me,
I
right?
see.
If someone could be violent because of a game, we're not gonna work.
Yeah, yeah.
A little healthy, like Andrew smack talks me, my son, when we play soccer in the basement. We're like, and he starts every game with, today's the day. Today's the day I'm gonna win. Today's the day I'm gonna kick your butt because I don't let him win. I really try hard because I'm just, as we've said, a little competitive. And he'll be like, oh, what's wrong? What's wrong, mom? Feet aren't working today. Oh, you don't have it. So he'll smack talk me even though I'm winning. It's really funny. But that's fine. That's to me, that's fun and healthy. But I'm talking, you resort to violence if you've lost a game.
No. That
That's
reminds me of the 2-year-old or like the 4-year-old, right?
right.
It's
That's a big telltale for me.
mm,
Yeah. I think they're just such great questions. Ooh, this is one. Does your partner bring out the best in you, or do you feel like you're shrinking yourself?
that's a really great question. I think with anybody. And of
Anyone.
course, these can be used with partners and or, right? And very
Exactly.
specific.
Friends,
Yes.
totally.
I love
Mhm.
these questions. These are so good.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so important because it's like, if especially if you've been out there and you've dated different kinds of people, you got on the one hand someone who's like, why aren't you spending time with me? And I'm actually referring, I have a client who's got this type of relationship where everything she does is how does it affect him? Oh, she spent extra hours working on a project. You don't care about me. You'd rather be doing that than be with me. So it's really interesting when you know what it's like to be with someone who does not support you in what
Hmm.
you're doing versus I think about someone who everything I did was amazing, right? And he's just like, oh my God, that's amazing. You're going to be so great. What do you need from me? Can I help in any way? And it just so had my back
Hmm.
on my dreams, on what I wanted to do and create. And I think when someone gives you wings, right, they're not carrying you,
Right.
they're helping you to do something that you're already on the path to doing.
Yeah, that's beautiful awareness.
And I don't think we mentioned it. Maybe we did once, but I think always about the Neil Donald Walsh two most important questions and the order on which you ask them is essential, right? First is where am I going?
Mm-hmm.
Figure out where are you going in life? Where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years? What's your goal? Number two, and must come after the first one is who's going with me?
Mm.
Because if you answer them out of order, you're going to end up with someone potentially in resentment because you didn't make sure that where you were going was the priority.
Yeah.
And if that person can't be with you, then that's, trusting that
Hmm.
and trusting that you'll meet the person who can walk that path with you. Right.
Right.
Or maybe that person says, you know what? Yeah, absolutely. I can do my dream anywhere. I'm going where you're going. Maybe that happens and they don't feel resentment. They're happy to do it.
That's a good point, honey. That's a good point.
Right? So many good
Yes.
ones. So many good ones. There's a similar one of if a close friend was in your relationship, would you encourage them to stay or leave? Now, I teach, we don't push, right? We hold space, we ask questions to help someone get that clarity.
Yeah.
But I still think it's a good pondering question. Yeah.
Yes. I love these. These are so good, honey. Do we have time for one more?
Sure, sure. Um, oh, these are more of they kind of help you figure out if you're in a good situation. So this is a good one. How do you handle stress? So how do you and your partner
Hmm.
handle stress? Do they complement or clash with each other?
So say more. Give an example.
Okay, so you both just found out that one set of in-laws is like really, really wants you to be at their Thanksgiving, and another set of in-laws really wants you to be at their Thanksgiving, but they can't leave their current towns because of the other families and the nieces. Maybe there's a reason for it. So now you both are being pulled in different directions. You're really stressed about it. And you have
Hmm.
to make a decision. What are you going to do for the holidays? I understand that's not the most stressful situation, but I figured we'd start there rather than talking about like credit card bills or other things like that.
That's an interesting scenario. How would you handle it? How would we handle it?
Yeah, would you get stressed out and start saying, this is your mother's fault or that's your, you know,
Or
there's,
maybe we pick a holiday, we pick one, and then we make plans to do the next holiday
yeah.
with the next ones, right?
For healthy partnerships, right? The idea is that you both decide you're tackling it together,
Right.
right? Rather than making the other person the enemy and working against them. Well, I don't care what you do. I'm going to my mom's. Instead saying, let's figure out if we can
Right.
come up with a solution here. And we're acknowledging it is a challenging situation.
Yes.
And we say, okay, what are our options? Let's put them all out on the table. Option number one, I go to mom's with one kid, you go right to yours with one kid. Option number two, we pick one parent and we're just willing to disappoint the other one and just stick to our boundaries and trust that, they'll get over it. Yes, they'll be hurt, but we have to honor us too. And then maybe go there next year. But you sit and you're rolling up your sleeves with your partner, acknowledging that this can be a team endeavor.
Yes. I love that.
Mhm. Do you? Do you really?
I That is such a good reminder. What teamwork makes the dream work in my household.
That's right. That's
Yeah, so
right.
we just have to cheer each other on.
Keep on cheering, you know?
Yes.
Okay, let's do 3 turn-ons that are not sexual. Go.
I'm sorry, you said turn on, and that's all. Ah,
Okay.
okay, fine. Yes, a sense of humor, of course.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
gotta be one. That's not sexual.
I got
Oh,
one.
oh, okay, okay. Are you asking me?
Sorry, I was distracted by
Oh,
the horn that just came out
questions.
your mouth. What's that?
Corn? I didn't have corn for breakfast. Did you just
Horn. It sounded like a trumpet.
love you?
Did not hear corn. I don't think our audience heard corn, but carry on.
I heard corn. I'm hungry. My lunch never arrived. Back
So,
to those turn-ons. Okay. Oh God, I got a lot. But okay. 3. What'd I say, Sarah? What'd I say?
you know what? Let him roll. Let him roll.
Sense of humor. I'd say compassion and questions. Like be curious, ask questions all the time, never assume anything. Just
Hmm.
be in the state of a question so that we're not in judgment.
I love curiosity. That is a big turn on.
Speak.
Someone who wants to know you, understand you, see you, hear you, all the things. I love that.
Someone
Okay, you heard me earlier. Our sense of humor is humongous. I think the other one that would go on my list is just show me someone with a hammer in their hands and they can stay clean and they're like able to fix things in the house.
okay.
I think that's big for me.
Yeah,
Just keep
good handy.
my home supported and just just notice when something needs a little bit of help and just kind of okay, thoughtfulness, it's huge and it's not a quality that we see often
Mhm.
around town. But someone who can kind of think about what your needs are in advance, like you're standing at the kitchen sink, you're washing your hands and they hand you a towel. It's so subtle and yet it says so much.
Everything. It says everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Thoughtfulness.
Yeah.
Mhm. And now we want to remind that we are not going to get all of our needs met from one person.
Correct.
Our
All the
partner
time.
can
Yes.
not be all the things. And I love Esther Perel for this because she reminds us that we can't feel like safe in predictability and also be excited because we don't know what our partner is going to do next. Like it's
Mhm.
very hard to get the duality, the two things in one person all the time. And so we want to remember that back in the day, a tribe gave us all the things so that we weren't trying to get it from one partner. It's a
A
big one.
village.
A village gave
A
us all.
village knew what they were doing.
Right. That's right. So we want to also not put the whole world on our partner's shoulders, that sometimes it's worth the $30 for someone to come to your house and clean it for an hour so you can have that extra lunch date with your partner.
Yes. Love this.
That's it. And when we nab, you and I have talked about this in other workshops, it's not a turn on for our partners. One wants to date their mother or father. So we want to really try to work on communication. And this is something we'll do next week. Is how do we say the things rather than you're so selfish, you don't do anything around the house. It
Mhm.
could look more like, I feel overwhelmed when I'm the only one doing household, things. Is there a way we can sit down and talk about how to divvy up a little bit more of the household responsibilities?
Yeah.
That communication can also save a relationship. So if you love that and you want more of that, that will be coming. We spent the entire month at evolvemasterclass.com doing these topics, talking about relationships, talking about communication, talking about apologies, talking about how to say the hard things. And we definitely discussed love languages, and so much more. There's tons that we put in the course site on these topics. We did worksheets and handouts and tools. So if you just love this stuff and you want to dive in and you want lessons and tools, I just printed out 20 healthy ways to have arguments or difficult conversations. So if you get stuck in a disagreement, you can literally print this out and be like, all right, honey, let's try number 5. This isn't working. Let's try this one. That's the kind of stuff you're going to find at evolvemasterclass.com if you register for our incredible Evolve Masterclass. And if you love these podcasts, like and subscribe, keep listening. We're going to try to give you as much as we can and keep you laughing with some sister humor.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.